What's up YouTube, Crunch here, and today I am bringing you my draft breakdown for Season 3 of the BDL B League. So for those of you that don't know, there is a style of competitive Pokemon called Draft where a certain amount of coaches using a certain set amount of points are allowed to quote-unquote draft a team of 10 or 11 Pokemon and then compete in a season to see who can win the championship. Side note, before we do get into the draft, this is not the order I actually picked the Pokemon in. This is what was the final result after the draft and the 24-hour grace period, which happened right after the draft. So I'm just gonna go based on the descriptions of the layout. So going into the draft, I basically had it in my mind that I wanted to have a pretty big like Volter and core team. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted my team to be based around. Obviously when I say core, that's what I mean. Like, I wanted it to be very momentum based and be pretty fast when looking at the speed tiers. So that was what I had going into the draft. I mean, I kind of got what I wanted out of that, but it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, but we'll just have to see going on with the season. I mean, obviously I dreamt way too big with what I wanted from some of these with basically my first two mods. The rest of them not so much. That being said, let's get into the draft. Starting with my mega pick, I wanted something that could give me extra points but at the same time put in a lot of work and have access to some sort of momentum move, that being either U-turn or Volt Switch or Flip Turn, which was newly introduced, or Teleport, which now has momentum-ish abilities starting Gen 8. So I wanted something like that, but it also had a very big offensive presence. And so initially I did want Mega Beedrill, but after my plan changed, I decided that I would go with, drumroll please, Mega MANECTRIC. This is a pretty great Megamon, giving me an extra 40 points, but also putting in a lot of work in its own respect. Having 135 base special attack and 135 speed, this thing is absolutely dealing a lot of damage when it comes out. In terms of move coverage, it does get flamethrower or overheat and for fire coverage, and of course the electric moves. Looking at it, I think last generation it did get signal beam. As you may or may not know, it was removed starting Gen 8, so that's that. I don't know if it's as good as before. I mean, I'm assuming it does get rising voltage, which was newly introduced in the Isle of Armor DLC, and it's gonna be fun to use. I've never used it before. It should be good. It's also a great Intimidate user, and because the rules of the league don't say have to Mega Evolve first turn, which is nice. It is also a great Lightning Rod mod, giving me a automatic +1 boost, so that should be nice. I mean, all around, I do think it is a pretty singular set oriented Pokemon, but I'm excited to see how much work this thing can put in during the season. Moving on with my first and surprisingly only tier 1 pick, considering I generally draft at least 2 tier 1 Pokemon, I decided to pick up one of my favorite Pokemon, both design wise and competitively, and that is Victini. So Victini, right? Victini is an absolute beast, having 100 base stats all around. It has a great offensive moveset, with having moves like V-Create, which has 180 base power, while also having access to moves like Bolt Strike, Brick Break, Flame Charge, Flare Blitz, Power Punch. It has great physical coverage, but at the same time it also has great special coverage, having moves like Thunder, Fire Blast, Energy Ball, Dazzling Gleam. This thing it's just a beast all around. It has so much offensive presence, where I can run choiced items to make this thing even more powerful, or I can run it more as a bulky set with items like the Leftovers or the Assault Vest, and run other types of sets like that with even I don't know, rest if I wanted. So this thing is an absolute beast. Of course, it does get U-turn, which is nice for the momentum core I wanted. So I am excited to use this one. I have used it before. Like I said, it is one of my favorite Pokemon, but that whole thing about it being comfortable is not gonna apply to the rest of my draft. So I felt that I should get one Mon at least that I can somewhat relatively know what I'm doing with. Moving on to my first of 3 tier 2 Pokemon, I decided to pick up something that I wasn't used to, which is going to be a common theme for the rest of the draft, but as I was saying, I've never used before. I've seen it being used in UU before it got banned within like I don't know, less than a week, and that mon happens to be SCOLIPEDE. Now SCOLIPEDE has a great ability in speed boost, automatically getting +1 in boost speed every time it's on the field for an entire turn. It has great base stats and attack. Having 100, it's not the best, but obviously it's not something to sleep on. And it has 112 speed, which is very nice. But this thing, after a Swords Dance, after a Reflect or Light Screen, maybe 1 or 2 speed boosts, this thing is taking lives. Having great coverage, it moves like Double Edge, Earthquake, Mega Horn, Poison Jab. There's a lot more. I'm just looking through the showdown list. This thing can absolutely run train through teams after getting boosts up. Now, unfortunately, it can't pass stats with Baton Pass, because if it could, it would be broken. And that being said, if I do want to run Baton Pass, I can't run Speed Boost. So that it's a double-edged sword in that manner, not having access to reliable momentum unless I run Poison Touch. But despite that, I think this thing can put in a lot of work if I play it right. So yeah, I'm excited to use it this season, and hopefully this thing does what I want it, or what I need it to do. Now, moving on to the second tier 2 Pokemon I decided to pick up. I wanted to get a Rapid Spinner, but I also wanted a somewhat offensive, not really, kind of water type, and that just so happened to be STARMIE. Now this thing, I don't know too much about it. I mean, like I said, with SCOLIPEDE, I have never used this Pokemon before. I did pick it up basically because I had Rapid Spin, and because I've heard a lot of things about this thing. It has great abilities in Natural Cure and Analytic, and it does have decent base stats with 100 special attack, 85 special defense, and 115 speed. This thing also does get Flip Turn, which is really nice for, like I said before, momentum. I don't know too much about it. I mean, obviously, it does get access to water type attacks. I mean, but that's kind of obvious. It does give me a Light Screen Setter, which is nice. I did end up drafting another mon that I kind of dedicated to, but it is nice to have more than one screen setter. I don't know how offensive or how many games I'm going to bring this to, but I do want to see how this thing can work. So that being said, I mean, I don't know much about it, but I do think it's going to be a great learning experience to use this thing. Now, moving on, for my third and final tier 2 Pokemon, I decided to get BISHARP. Now, BISHARP is a beast. It's a Dark Steel type with Defiant, and it also has 2 other great abilities with Inner Focus and Pressure, but Defiant really takes the crown there. Having 125 attack and 100 defense, this Pokemon literally just does not care. It's my only knockoff mon, which is kind of upsetting that I didn't pick up another one, but I mean, this thing, it's an absolute beast, right? It has Stealth Rocks, which is, I mean, it doesn't matter as much, but it's nice to have that option. It does give me a Steel type, which is nice for Fairy types and other of the sorts. But also, with the new move Lash Out, if I can switch this thing in properly, with a +1 boost from Defiant, and the a +2 boost in attack, and because of Lash Out's ability that doubles power every time a stat is lowered, or not every time, the first time. So it goes from 75 to 150 power, base power. I can get 150 base power with a +2 attack on anything. This thing's like it's just self-explanatory. I mean, I don't know what else to say. This thing is gonna take lives no matter what you say. I mean, I haven't gotten to try it out yet, but I'm most definitely gonna have a lot of fun with this Pokemon. Like I said, I haven't used it before. I don't know, probably gonna say that at least. How many more months are left? Like six or 5, I don't know. I'm definitely gonna say that for the rest of the months. But yeah, I'm excited to use BISHARP. Hopefully it puts in a lot of work. So starting off with the first tier 3 Pokemon, I realized that I was gonna have a ground weakness, right? Already having 3 mons that were weak to ground was not necessarily the best option to have, and I decided to go with a Pokemon that could not only not only was immune to ground types, but also could defog. And having the addition of heavy duty boots this season, it made it a lot easier for flying types to do that. But that being said, I was still lacking a dragon type, so I decided to pick up Flygon. Flygon's only ability is levitate, so I do have the ground immunity, but I also don't have to worry about having to come in and take rocks damage to defog them. Obviously, it's not necessarily the best mon to have defog on, but it can work if I needed to. Now that being said, it's not the only reason I picked up this Pokemon. This thing in its own right is an absolute, if it has 1 or 2 Dragon Ninjas up with 100 base attack and 100 base speed, this thing is going to run through teams, right? With having access, I mean, just having access to Earthquake and Dragon type moves like, Outrage and Dragon Claw, this thing is, it's gonna, with 1 or 2 Dragon Ninjas, it is gonna run through a lot of teams. But it also has decent special coverage, which is nice. So if I'm feeling the occasional special or like mixed set with Life Orb, this can put in the work. I mean, I've been forgetting to mention this, but it does get U-turn. So that's the what? Because Victini got U-turn, Mega MANECTRIC got Volt Switch, STARMIE got Flip Turn. Yeah, this is the 4th Pokemon that has momentum, which is really nice. So yeah, there's Flygon. I don't think I've ever used it before, or if I have, I can't remember. It must have been a long time, but I'm definitely excited. And sorry if I keep repeating myself, but that's just the state of what my draft is. So moving on to the second tier 3 Pokemon, I realized that if I had a fairy type, I'd finish my Fairy Dragon Steel Core. But I also wanted a dedicated light screen reflect utility type Pokemon, and that just so happened to be Gardevoir. Now Gardevoir, it was just sitting there, but it just seemed to fit my team so well because I didn't really have special attackers yet, besides maybe, well, okay, let me take that back. Looking at the grand scheme of things, it looked like I didn't have a special attacker yet. And having this mon, especially with what I wanted it for, the utility with like having moves like obviously screens, which is what its dedicated use was originally with my draft plan, but also having access to Wish Protect, Healing Wish, Destiny Bond, Disable, Encore. This thing, if I use it right, it can be extremely annoying, which is gonna be very fun, especially when I bring those Wish Protect mons just for Polo. So that's gonna be nice. Having 125 attack, special attack, 115 special defense. Obviously, it is hitting more on the sport. It's more of a specially oriented mon. I mainly picked it up for utility, but like I said, it does have offensive presence. But never used the regular. I've used the mega form, but I've never used the regular form. So I'm excited to see how that goes. It also has trace, so I mean, it can kind of stop in the way of weather teams. And it allows me to scout out. So this mon is definitely, it's more of a chance for me to try using utility while also having a mon that's not necessarily only used for utility, so that's going to be a really nice option. Now moving on to the third tier 3 pick. I wanted a ghost type immunity because I was kind of starting to build up one with Victini, STARMIE, and obviously Gardevoir, and then my tier 4 pick. I definitely needed something that was going to either take ghost type hits or just be immune to them, and I also wanted another ground immunity, and this mon just happened to fit perfectly, and that mon is SWELLOW. Now SWELLOW, I mean, obviously, like I said before, it gives me ground immunity and a ghost immunity, but it does also get access to defogs. That being said, it's definitely not the best defog switch in unless I'm running heavy duty boots, which is like kind of counterintuitive because having the ability guts and getting status with the flame orb, this thing can absolutely deal damage, but if I want to run defog, I can't really do that, so obviously it's kind of a win-lose situation, just like the SCOLIPEDE, but yeah, like I said before, it does get guts, so with a burn, this thing is gonna hit hard with a Brave Bird or Double Edge. That being said, it also does get access to Boom Burst, so if I want to give it Life Orb or random choice specs, this thing is, I'm excited to use this one. I hope it's one of those like underrated sweepers. That's what I want it to be. It also does get U-turn, which is really nice, so I hope it does put in a lot of work. I mean, it has a good enough stats with 85 attack, 75 special attack, 125 speed, so hopefully, you know, there's a lot of hope this season. I haven't used this before. Hopefully it does do what I need it to do. Now finally getting to my fourth tier 3 pick. I needed, or no, let me say I didn't need anything. I wanted a offensive rock type Pokemon because I felt that if I had the coverage there and it was offensive enough, it just felt like I needed the typing. For better or worse, I felt like I needed it. It was I don't know if it was like on a whim or whatever, but I felt I needed the mon, and that mon just so happened to be LYCANROC-DUSK. Now, as I said before, I need priority, and LYCANROC-DUSK does get priority with a Cell Rock, and it also gives me another Stealth Rocker, which is really nice. This mon having 117 base attack and 110 speed, it can deal a lot of damage because it has the ability Tough Claws, which boosts the attack of contact moves by 1.3 times. And because it has great, physical offensive coverage with like fighting side moves and brick break and close combat, and also having Drill Run, Fire Fang, Outrage, even Play Rough, Iron Head, Psychic Fangs, Quick Attack, this thing is gonna, hopefully, there's a lot of hope, like I said before, hopefully it can just come in a rec shop and then get out. That's about it. That's all I can say, because I'm really sorry I'm saying this again. I've never used this. I liked its moveset and Tough Claws, and I just thought it gave me a great opportunity to try out this mon because I felt I needed a Stealth Rocker outside of BISHARP. Going to tier 4 and one of the second to last Pokemon, I decided to pick up a mon that I've wanted to try for maybe a year now, like all through Gen 7, never got to use it. Drafted it once but dropped it before I ever got to use it. That mon happens to be GOURGEIST. Now, with the addition of GOURGEIST to the team, that did complete the Fire Water Grass core that I was kind of going for. Kind of lost track of it, but it's there now, which is nice. And now GOURGEIST does have 4 different forms, which has stats ranging in attack, speed, and health points. But because the rules don't ban it, I'm allowed to use all 4 forms, which is gonna be really nice. Because this thing has obviously base 122 defense, which is really nice, but it can also, I can run the small form, which is the fastest, or I can run large or super form, which is most likely what I'm going to bring. This thing can put in a lot of offensive pressure with the super form. With the addition of Poltergeist and Power Whip and Gyro Ball, it can deal out a lot of damage, like I said before. I mean, kind of side note, not really. I mainly only drafted this thing to try out the choice band set. So I don't know if I'm gonna keep it around, because I mean, really, I just wanted to try that out. I mean, if it does put in enough work, or if I feel it would be like a mistake to lose the synergy that it has with the team, then obviously I will keep it around, but we'll just have to see. It does get Frisk, which is nice for this scouting out aspect. Insomnia, which is not really, hopefully not a problem. That's that. Now, going to the final Pokemon of the draft. Sorry I kept you guys around for so long. Last Mon, if you didn't already know, I've never used it before. So going into the final, my tier 5 Pokemon, I realized that I wanted a Pokemon that was fighting type, because obviously I had fighting type coverage on my other Mons, but I wanted one that got the stab boost. But I mean, originally I wanted it to have knockoff, and I kind of lost track of that in this moment because I didn't have much time during grace period or during the draft. I wanted another knockoff Mon, and I just didn't have the time to look for one in tier 5 that was good with my team. So I did end up picking up Primeape. Now, Primeape has a 105 attack and 95 speed, so it's not bad. I mean, it is a tier 5 wall breaker. It does get Defiant, which same as BISHARP, +2 attack on moves like Defog and whatnot. It does get Anger Point, which is nice if I'm deciding to play it risky and be like, oh, let me just take a critical hit. It does get Vital Spirit, which means no sleep. I mean, there's not much to it. It does get Acrobatics. I mean, it gets Close Combat, Body Slam, Fire Punch, Gunk Shot. I feel like it's just generic fighting type. It's like a watered down. It's like a watered down Hitmonlee. Let's just say that. I don't know how many games I'm gonna bring it to, because like I said, it's just there for the fighting typing. I don't know how I'm gonna use this thing, but if I do use it, hopefully it puts in a lot of work. Here's my team, guys. This is what I have for now. I have like 5 weeks to change it up before trades, and I have 5 trades, which is nice if I want to ever drop them on or pick up a new one. But this is what I have for now. If I have any updates, I will make a video on it. But yeah, that being said, I still ended up with a decent Volturn core, and I mean that includes Flip Turn and Teleport and Baton Pass and whatnot. But it is an offensive team. It doesn't take many hits, but that's why I have 2 Light Screen Pokemon. Coincidentally, STARMIE it just happened. But yeah, I hope you guys are excited to see what happens later in the season. I'm going to try to start posting more often. I do have IRL things that need to be attended to, more importantly. But that being said, I will try to keep up with it. If you guys did like the video or anything in it, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you want more content like this, as I said before, like and subscribe. Alright guys, like I said before, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope to see you next time. Peace.